Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So I wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Nrsimhadev, Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra, Gaur Nitai, Tulsi Mani, Srila Haridasa, Guru Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees. So we wanted to do some sort of overview of the Srimad Bhagavad Puran, which is one of the most important scriptures. It is said that after the Bhagavad Gita, we should try to study the Srimad Bhagavad Puran. So we've done this, I think we did about 300 or over 300 seminars covering the whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I wasn't planning to spend so much time, but we wanted to get a overview of what is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why is it so important? This is the Vedic scriptures, a bit of an overview, which is split into two, Shruti and Smriti. Shruti, which is heard, this Shruti cannot necessarily be changed. It comprises of the Vedas and the Upavedas, the Vedangas, Samhitas, Brahmana, Aranyaks, Upanishads, and so many other things. And then there's the other side, which is remembered, Smriti. That includes the Itihas, like the Mahabharata, Ramayana, and it includes the Puranas. And that includes the Bhagavad Purana. Now, Bhagavad Purana is actually regarded to be a natural commentary by Srila Vyasadeva on the Vedas, on the Vedanta. So the Vedas are very vast, huge, and very hard to, and mostly lost anyway, and very difficult to read in one lifetime. So this is where both the Bhagavad Gita, which is also a summary of the Vedic philosophy, and then the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a natural commentary on the Vedas, are useful, very, very useful. God sends, actually. So we are very fortunate to have these scriptures, and especially being translated by Srila Prabhupada, because he's done it as it is. He has not put his own interpretation. He's given it as Krishna intended it, or as the Bhagavad reciter intended it, Sukadeva Goswami. So we've gone through this a few times, so I wasn't planning to go into any particular detail. The two types of scripture, Shruti, Smriti. What is Gita then? Gita is said to be Shruti because it was directly spoken to Arjun in the battlefield of Kurukshetra by the Lord himself. So Shruti means that instruction which cannot be changed. But it's also Smriti because it's within the Mahabharata, which is history. So that can be changed, or that can change. So Bhagavad Gita is both, in both categories, which is quite interesting. The Vedas, we know, primarily the four Vedas, the Rig Vedas, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, Atharva Veda. And these Vedas, generally, they deal with material elevation in order to bring people who are materially minded to a higher level, higher spiritual consciousness. It won't necessarily give guidance that one should give up material life, because who's going to do that anyway? Even if the book says give up, enjoyment, sense enjoyment, give up working, it's not necessarily going to happen. It's not practical. And so what the Vedas does is wherever you are, whatever situation you are, it just gives you the opportunity to raise yourself to the next platform. So it's a gradual process over time. And we see sometimes it's a little hard because the Vedas promotes the worship of the devatas as well, like Indra or Surya or Vayu, whereas they may not necessarily be the supreme personality of Godhead. They are devatas, demigods. So the reason why the Vedas does this is, again, to bring the practitioner to a higher state than they are at. Yes, these demigods, they may not be the supreme, and they may want to offer something back in return to the practitioner. And that's fine, because at least the practitioner is worshipping somebody other than himself. That's the idea of the Vedas. A lot of the Vedas are karma kanda based, i.e., some offering is made to the devatas in return for some reward. So that's what karma kanda means. You're doing something for a purpose. Whereas bhakti is to do something without any expectation of a return. And that is hard because everybody has some expectation of return. So this is where the Vedic literatures facilitate this transactional based, not devotion necessarily, but some transactional based spiritual activity, some sort of activity higher than material activity. So, and Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, he encourages that when a person desires to worship a particular demigod for the temporary and limited fruits that demigod may bestow, Krishna, as a super soul in everyone's heart, makes that person's faith in that demigod steady. So this is just to encourage the practitioner so that they're doing something somewhat spiritually based. Okay. Apart from the Vedas, there's the Brahmanas, the Yakas, the Upanishads, and these are, again, they assist the Vedas in helping the materially minded people to come to a higher platform. So, especially the Upanishads are very instructive. They have quite a lot of philosophy in them, which can be useful. Upavedas, these are supplementary to the Vedas. They're basically four: Arthaved, Dhanurved, Gandharvaved, Ayurved. So Ayurved, I think a lot of people are quite familiar with Ayurved, which is a system of holistic healthcare. So this is from the Vedic, with part of the Vedic scriptures. Then the Vedangas, Angas, Limb, these are sort of in addition to the Vedas, helping the Vedas, giving more information about the Vedas. Integral part of the Vedas, how to pronounce the Vedic scriptures, also brings in a Vedic astrology. So it's very all-encompassing, the Vedas. Right. So most of the Shruti texts, which consist of the four Vedas, the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, Upanishads, focus on the rituals and the method for acquiring material needs by worship of Vedic demigods. When the Shruti texts go beyond this, then they primarily contain knowledge of futility of material existence, temporary nature of this world, the bondage of the jiva souls in this samsara of birth and death, the spiritual nature of the individual and the supreme being, and describe that the goal of life is liberation from this material manifestation. And it also touches upon the need to return to the spiritual existence through the understanding of karma, spiritual knowledge, renunciation, and bhakti. However, generally, the Shruti does not go beyond this, at least not into the finer details. There's not much information of the bliss of spiritual activities and the pastimes of Golok Vrindavan, because if that was also included in the Vedas, it would be so lost, it would be almost pointless. And the practitioner probably would never get to that stage. So that information is given in Smriti scriptures and in the Bhagavatam, especially, or in the Puranas at least. So these are the Smritis, Itihas, the historical events that have taken place, like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Mahabharata is regarded to be the longest poem, greatest epic. And within the Mahabharata is the Bhagavad Gita, which is the instructions from Lord Krishna to Arjuna, essentially how to live in this world without being affected by the madness of this world. Bhagavad Gita is a fantastic summary of Vedic philosophy. And then another Itihas is the Ramayana, which is very interesting scripture, because it details the life of Lord Ramachandra, who came as the ideal human being. So all sorts of idealisms are within Ramayana. And then we have the Puranas. So the Puranas, they usually have 5 basic subject matters, which can go up to 10 subject matters. It talks about creation of the world, destruction, recreation of the world, genealogy of the Manus, the great Acharyas, the Devatas. It talks about the reign of the Manus. Talks about the solar and the lunar dynasties. And many of these Puranas have descriptions of the activities of the incarnations of God, and also the great sages, great devotees. One thing that may be somewhat confusing is that the stories are not in any particular chronological order. So if we read the Bhagavatam, it is in some sort of chronological order, but not completely. And it may be related at any time according to need. This is primarily due to the fact that the Puranas are generally related in a dialogue of questions and answers between the sages and the saints. So the Vedas are not a dialogue, they are just instructions. Whereas the Puranas are questions and answers. The Bhagavad Gita is just that, question and answers. Puranas explain more clearly and completely the spiritual philosophy found in the 4 original Vedas. And there are a lot of Puranas. There are 18 secondary Puranas, which are listed here. And there are 18 primary Puranas, Mahapuranas, and they're categorized into 3 areas. Those which are in the mode of Tamagun. They're not in the mode of Tamagun, but they are meant for people who are in the mode of Tamagun. Rajagun and Satagun. So a quick review of these. There's the Linga Puran, which primarily talks about Lord Shiva and Parvati and Ganpati. Skanda Purana. Skanda relates to the other son of Lord Shiva, Kartikeya. And again, the prominent pastimes talk about Shiva and Parvati, and then there's also pastimes of Vishnu. Agni Puran by the fire god, his instructions to the sage Vashishta. Talks about greatness of Ganga and astrology. Matsya Puran, conversation between Lord Matsya and Manu, when Mach is the first incarnation to appear. So his instructions are very valuable. He instructs Satyavrat Muni and talks about Ikshvaku, different dynasties, Surya, Chandra, and again Shiva and Parvati and their marriage. Kurma Purana. This is the tortoise. Again, gives his teachings to the great sages. Shiv Puran. This is actually Vayu describing events of the present Kalpa. Detailed accounts of Lord Shiva are given. Brahma Purana. So these are in the mode of passion. Well, they're not in the mode of passion, but they're for people who are in the mode of passion. These are pastimes of Krishna, Surya, birth of Parvati, marriage. So many things are repeated in these Puranas. So Brahmanda Purana talks about the future Kalpas. There are a lot of predictions made in the Puranas. As it is also in the Srimad Bhagavatam Purana, there's predictions about what's going to happen in the Kali Yuga, which is coming true. Brahma Vaivarta Purana, there's a lot of pastimes. 129 chapters of many stories of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. This is amazing Purana. Markandeya Purana, the great sage Markandeya Rishi spoke this to Jaimini Rishi. Bhavishya Purana talks about future, the future kings, the future of Kali Yuga. Vaman Puran, Lord Vaman Dev, big conversations between Prahlad and his grandson Bali Maharaj. Prahlad is one of the greatest souls, and at the moment we're talking a lot about Prahlad because of Holi. Varaha Puran, it's another interesting Puran. Narad Puran, Narad Muni gives so much instructions. Garud Purana, this is especially here is information about what happens to the soul after it leaves the body. There's a lot of instructions in here, guidance as to what happens to the soul. It also contains 1,000 names of Vishnu, Vishnu Sahasranam. Padma Purana, and Padma Purana is a very famous Purana. Has a lot of stories, pastimes, and it's quoted often by Srila Prabhupada. And then we have the Vishnu Purana, and finally Bhagavad Purana. So Bhagavad Purana is consisting of 18,000 verses. It's quite big. Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses, so comparison is huge. And it's also known as the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is Srila Vyasadev's own commentary on all the Vedanta philosophy. It brings to light all the different aspects of the absolute truth, but especially the personal characteristics of Sri Krishna as the final conclusion of all Vedic understanding. So this is the speciality of this Bhagavad Puran. It is focused. There's 90 chapters simply on Lord Krishna. It's huge. It's the 10th canto. It does not elaborate on the worship of other demigods or on rituals that award various temporary material benedictions, as do some of the other Vedas and Puranas. Therefore, the Bhagavatam completely transcends all other philosophical viewpoints of the Vedic literature. So this is called the spotless Purana. It is beyond the three modes of material nature. And it is meant for those who really want to make spiritual progress quickly. So this is what we hopefully in the next few sessions will try to get an idea of what is in this Purana, a bit of an overview. So, okay, any questions or any comments?
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Nariman.
There's so much, yes, this is part of our Sanatana Dharma, so much literature out there.
Yes.
I wonder who has the time to read all this. 18,000, 21,000, 110,000. Or it may be that somebody may be a sort of like a expert in one particular area, like a Mahabharata, which contains about 110,000 verses. Or somebody may be an
Yeah.
expert in Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't personally. I think it's amazing that people can read all this in their one lifetime.
Yeah. I think if anybody does manage to read it in one lifetime, they probably go crazy. So much information. So yeah, you're right. I think that's the whole thing. There are specialisms and people who specialize in various scriptures. In the South, they would focus on the Rig Vedas because they like the chanting of the Vedic mantras, for example. And they're very good at it as well, some of them. So yeah, definitely various people will have specialisms within this. There's nobody who will be an expert or not, all except, of course, the Supreme Lord, as Krishna or Vyasadeva, who wrote all these, dictated all these scriptures. So other than that, correct, you're right. And
Also, how do people progress from karma kanda
mm,
reach to the bhakti yoga or bhakti stage? How do they progress? Because the karma kanda is basically giving and taking, isn't it? You give
it is,
and
it is,
take, give you
and
something in return. But
that's correct.
that's the particular people's mindset.
Yes.
Progress from there to giving nothing but just bhakti of the Krishna. It's a huge step.
It's a big step, but it's almost can be a natural step as one progresses in age. So if karma kand, if the children are sort of given this training from a young age, as they're growing and gaining more and more knowledge, information, at some point there will be a realization that, oh, yes, I am doing this karma kand. I'm getting some benefit and I'm giving something, but it's all material. It's all going to end at some point when I die. So, what is the benefit of this? So that's when the question like that arises in their mind, then there's a lot of guidance, right? There's a lot of guidance in the Bhagavad Gita, which explains that, don't be fooled by the flowery words of the Vedas. He says to Arjun, Krishna says to Arjun, don't get taken in by the karma kanda portion of the Vedas. So it is a big step, but it is a step over time. Through age, one matures from karma kanda into some sort of bhakti. It may not be bhakti yoga, it may be karma yoga, right? Karma yoga is a little bit better than karma kanda. No, it's quite a lot better actually. Because in karma yoga, what you're doing, you're performing your activities without any attachment to the fruits. And that's really good. No attachment to the fruits. So that's beginning of karma yoga. And then when you have some attachment, no, sorry, when you have some knowledge of the Supreme and you're still doing activities without attachment, that becomes nishkarma karma yoga. And then eventually you come to the stage of, okay, gyan yoga, just reading, learning, gaining knowledge about the Lord. And then the next step is going to be, I know this world is futile. I'm not attached, but let me become attached to God, to Krishna, to Vishnu. That's the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. So it's a step-by-step process, definitely. And it will take time. It will take time.
And also, as people progress, as you say, in age, they may be, when they were young toddlers, they were under the influence of their parents and they were doing what they were being told. As they
Yeah.
progress in the age, and then they develop their own sense, and then they develop their own thinking. So they may be walking away from karma kanda activities and developing their own philosophy, which guiding them to the further spiritual life.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
And
Prabhu.
and also, like Narad Muni or Prabhupada, these two souls, they would just randomly, almost randomly change people completely. If we come across a devotee, um, like as empowered as those two, for example, and others, of course, but those two really come to mind, then the transformation can be really quick. From being just an ordinary, karmi, like just don't care about any spirituality, to taking on spirituality with great, haste and enthusiasm. So the mercy of the devotee is critical if one is to really progress quickly in spiritual life.
True. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you so much. Jai Shri Krishna, Prabhupada. Are you've joined us today? She's been a little busy.
Jai Shri Krishna to all the devotees and Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
And
How are you doing?
I'm much better.
Oh, good, 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 good. Thank you for joining. Huh?
Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Anybody, any other comments or questions?
For me, I've just listened what you said just now. When you said about the karma kand, is that whatever you are doing for anybody or only for God?
Karma Kand is generally where you are doing something for the devatas like Indra or Surya, and you want something back in return. Ganpati, Mata Parvati, you are doing some, Lord Shiva, you're doing some puja, and there's a reason for that puja. I want a wife or a husband. So there's a reason to do that puja. It's like a business transaction. I will do the puja. Please, you give me what I want.
That means, are you saying
It's
you
not.
you are no? I think that is. I think I believe in that. That is like a business.
A business transaction.
Yeah,
Bhakti.
is if you're doing anything, you just doing
Yeah,
for the God
for the Lord.
and for your soul.
Yeah, correct. Otherwise, as you said, it's like a business. You do for me, and I'll do for you. If you don't do for me, I won't do for you. That is not selfless.
Yeah, but long time ago, I remember, like the way you said you want husband, you do 16 Mondays and you just do puja for Seva. And then on the 17th, you do the Vrat finish. And then God will help you to find a nice husband.
Yeah, yes.
But that was long time ago.
Yes, and
But
at a young age that happens.
Like that.
And then
yeah,
as
like
you get older,
we have done even Jaya Parvati and Morakat. And there's so many vrats for all different devotees, even Surya Narayan Vrat.
Yeah.
So, but the work was done, like the pujas were done. But at that time, we knew little bit, but we didn't know too much about it. But I must tell you, I wasn't able to do anymore.
Yeah.
It's nice today's, but I just listen. But I'm going to. This will be on YouTube tonight.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll listen back on YouTube again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Huh? Okay. So we can stop there unless there's anybody else. No. All right. So let's